For my whole life, I've enjoyed reading. It's something that I've done ever since I can remember.
Hello readers, I'm Victoria Wood and you're listening to Biblio Happy Hour, the show that shares new book releases, we chat to the authors who write them, and the people who sell them. Every week, we'll share some of the new books that will be hitting bookshelves that week. We'll invite an author or two or more on the show to talk about their debut or newest release, and we'll introduce you to an independent bookseller and their bookstore so you can stop by, get tailored book recommendations, and pick up some new books when you're in town. So make space on your bookshelves, follow us on social media, and make sure you're subscribed to Biblio Happy Hour wherever you listen to your favorite shows. Readers, Biblio Lifestyle is a newsletter, community, and space for people who can't live a life without books in it. Every Friday, you'll get a special treat in your inbox filled with inspirational content, book recommendations, self-care tips, original interviews, and things we think you'll enjoy. The best part? You'll only receive one email per week, and it will be an amazing 5-minute read or less. So if you're not on the list, sign up now for our free weekly delivery at bibliolifestyle.com. I've included a link in the show notes so you can sign up there. This week, I will be chatting with bookseller Jason Jefferies from Quail Ridge Books, located in Raleigh, North Carolina. We'll be talking about the bookstore, the town of Raleigh, what you can expect walking in, and how Jason got involved in books and bookselling. Jason, thank you so much for coming on the show, and welcome to Biblio Happy Hour.
Thank you for having me, Victoria. It's a pleasure to be here.
So really quick, before we get into the book business, are you a coffee or a tea person?
The real answer to that question is that I am a caffeine person, but if I were forced to choose, I would definitely choose coffee. I used to live in San Francisco where it was very foggy all the time, and coffee became sort of my refuge.
Absolutely, and coffee has way more caffeine than tea does, so that makes absolute sense. Yep, sounds good. Alrighty, so tell us about the bookstore, tell us about Quail Ridge Books, share where you're located, and also a bit about your town.
Yeah, so Quail Ridge Books opened in 1984. We were started by Nancy Olson, who opened the bookstore with some extra money that she had inherited, and she quickly became renowned and beloved in the book industry as she was famous for hand-selling titles that were lesser known and turning them into bestsellers. And she owned the store for close to 30 years before handing it over to our current owner, Lisa Poole, who we're very lucky to have on board. We're located in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is the capital of North Carolina, and also the home to several universities, one being North Carolina State University, which is the home to the only MFA creative writing program in the Triangle area, the Triangle being Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill, where Duke University and UNC are. Our store, it's a fantastic indie bookstore. We're Raleigh's trusted community bookstore, the only large indie bookstore in our city. And we partner with the North Carolina Book Festival, which is a large event that's put on every year. We have an arts and lecture series, which is an annual event. We have a podcast called Bookin' that comes out every week and features different author interviews. We have a fantastic staff, and we are champions for Southern literature.
Tell our listeners what readers and book lovers and just anyone walking into Quail Ridge, what can they expect?
As soon as you walk into our bookstore, you're greeted by a fantastically warm environment. You are immediately going to step in front of a handful of our booksellers who either will or will not assist you based on your preference. Our store sort of looks like something out of a Wes Anderson film. And what I mean when I say that is we have a lot of fantastic art and decorations on our wall, mixed with kind of a nice, warm, old school school vibe. Our kids department has a giant tree in the middle of it, where we have children gather for story times. Immediately to the left, when you walk into our store, as I mentioned earlier, we are a champion for Southern and regional literature. So you'll see our large and well-stocked Southern fiction section. You'll have lots of comfortable chairs to sit in and browse around. And then there's also an upstairs area where we have magazines and journals, and we have some smaller gatherings up there. The middle of our store is all of our bookshelves are mobile, so depending on when you come in, you may see shelves in different sections lining the floor, or you may see the shelves wheeled out of the way so we can have an author event. When we wheel the shelves to the perimeter of our store, we can fit in about 300 chairs to feature one of our great authors.
But getting a bit more personal about you, how did you end up in the book business, Jason? Was this something you always knew that was going to happen, or is it something, an opportunity presented itself and you decided, okay, well, I'm gonna work at this bookstore?
Yeah, for my whole life, I've enjoyed reading. It's something that I've done ever since I can remember. And when I was a student, I had a fantastic teacher. His name was Thomas Rice, who introduced me to the study of literature. And we were reading a short story by James Joyce, and a key kind of turned into my head that made me understand why people study literature and spend their lives working with it. As I was a student during this time, I worked for a used bookstore in Columbia, South Carolina, to help me through university. And then after that, I moved to San Francisco, California, where I managed a very large 4-floor bookstore in the Union Square area. I did that for about 10 years, broken up. I did 5 years, and then I moved east for 2 years to get a master's degree, and then moved back to manage a bookstore for 5 more years in San Francisco. And after that, I moved to Raleigh, North Carolina, where I worked with North Carolina State University Libraries to put on the North Carolina Literary Festival, which has now become the North Carolina Book Festival. And I managed a lot of off-site book events for Quail Ridge Books, as they would have their events that needed to seat 300 to 1,000 people at the university. And that partnership became so fun and lucrative and interesting for everyone involved that Quail Ridge made me an offer to join their staff. Here I am.
What are some of the other bookish events that are hosted in and around town?
Yeah, so we have, as I mentioned, the North Carolina Book Festival, which is the last weekend of February every year. Beyond that, our event programming, which is coordinated by Renee Martin, is really the bread and butter of our store. We have probably about 20 to 30 different book clubs that meet regularly in our store. We have trivia nights, we have writing workshops, and that's on top of the larger author events that we have. We also have a very successful kids event program. So we've always got something going on to be excited about.
Yeah, sounds that way for sure. And wrapping up, what would you like everyone listening to know about Quail Ridge Books? What do you want everyone listening to know about your bookstore and by extension the town of Raleigh?
Yeah, well, Raleigh is a great town, so I'll talk about that first. Again, it's the capital city of North Carolina, and we're within close range of Durham and Chapel Hill. Our area is called the Research Triangle. So you are around North Carolina State University, the University of North Carolina, Duke University, Meredith College, Peace College, North Carolina Central University, Shaw University, all of these different universities, which means that every year the whole population of the area turns around and is recycled, and you have all of these new people coming in with fresh and innovative and exciting ideas. And it's a really fantastic and thriving place to live, especially if you're interested in things like the arts and technology and things that are constantly changing, and important to stay on top of for someone in that field. As far as our bookstore goes, we've been around for 35 years. It's one of the best bookstores, if not the best bookstore in the United States, as far as I'm concerned, even though I'm obviously very biased. Our events, again, our events program that's run by Renee Martin. She's our events coordinator. She's been doing it for a very long time, and I believe that she's the best in the business at what she does. We have fantastic events almost every single day in our store. There's always something to do if you're looking to interact with an author or a book club or someone with a fascinating mind. That's always available at Quail Ridge. And then we do these large events for the community. Like I said, we do the North Carolina Book Festival every year. We have our arts and lecture series. We're partnering with this great new writing workshop that some graduates of the North Carolina State MFA workshop have started, called the Redbud Writing Project, to do a series of workshops in our store. We're just really excited about books, literature, and supporting our community and the arts and schools and our artists. If these are the things you like, then I encourage you to check out our bookstore in Raleigh, and it's one of those places where when people visit, they always talk about how they'd like to move there.
Alrighty, sounds good. Jason, thank you so much for taking the time out and coming on the show and talking about the bookstore, the book community, and just everything books and bookish. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Readers, you can connect with Quail Ridge Books in Raleigh, North Carolina at their website, quailridgebooks.com. You can also find them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Quail Ridge Books. If you'd like to tune in to the rest of my conversation with bookseller Jason Jefferies, the full podcast episode will be available on our Patreon page. That's patreon.com/bibliofinder. To find an independent bookstore near you or when you're traveling, visit bibliofinder.com. Bibliofinder is a new online directory for independent bookstores, and they help users to find bookstores worldwide based on your current or planned location. If you're on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, please tag Bibliofinder in your indie bookstore photos. Before I get started with this week's new releases, I'd like to highlight one literary birthday happening this week as well. On January 27th, the author of Alice in Wonderland, Lewis Carroll, was born in 1832. Now, I will be mentioning some of the books that will be available on bookshelves during the week of Monday, January 27th. And I'm thrilled to have author Lisa Gardner on the show to talk about her new book. New this week from Day Street Books, Old School Love and Why It Works by Joseph Revron Simmons and Justine Simmons. New in paperback from Eco Books, White Elephant by Julie Langsdorff. Also new from Eco Books this week, My War Criminal, Personal Encounters with an Architect of Genocide by Jessica Stern. New this week from Harper Books is a new novel entitled Beautiful Crime by Christopher Bolan. A Beautiful Crime is described as a delicious literary thriller that's a twisty story of deception set in a contemporary Venice featuring a young American couple who have their sights on a high-stakes con. Also new from Harper Books, Children of the Land by Marcelo Hernandez Castillo. Children of the Land is described as an unforgettable memoir about growing up undocumented in the United States. Also new from Harper Books, Gay Like Me by Richie Jackson. Gay Like Me has been described as a timely love letter written by Jackson to his son, as he reflects on his experiences as a gay man in America and the progress and setbacks of LGBTQ citizens over the past 50 years. Also new from Harper Books, A House in the Mountains, The Women Who Liberated Italy from Fascism by Caroline Moorhead. This is a final volume in the Resistance Quartet series. New this week from Harper Perennial is High Fire by Owen Colfer. High Fire has been described as a hilarious and high-octane adult novel about a vodka-drinking, flash dance-loving dragon who lives an isolated life in the bayous of Louisiana, and the raucous adventures that ensue when he crosses paths with a 15-year-old troublemaker on the run from a crooked sheriff. High Fire has been described as a hilarious and high-octane adult novel about a vodka-drinking, flash-dance-loving dragon who lives an isolated life in the bayous of Louisiana, and the raucous adventures that ensue when he crosses paths with a 15-year-old troublemaker on the run from a crooked sheriff. New this week from William Morrow Paperbacks is Losing You by Nisi French. New this week from Tacha Perigee, Warrior Rising, How Four Men Helped a Boy on His Journey to Manhood by Mary Ann Howland. New this week from Riverhead Books, Blue Flowers by Carola Saavedra. Blue Flowers has been described as a novel of dark obsession, missed connections, and violent love. New this week from Portfolio Books, Edge, Turning Adversity into Advantage by Laura Huang. New this week from Dotton Books is a new twisty thriller entitled When You See Me, and we have the author Lisa Gardner here with us to share all the details. Lisa, welcome to Biblio Happy Hour.
Thank you very much.
So, I know this is far from your first rodeo, but your new thriller, When You See Me, will be available on bookshelves this week. How are you feeling? How excited are you?
It is always an amazing week to see the book out in stores, in its natural habitat, and get to talk to readers where it's now becoming as real for them. It's always an exciting time. It's like what you live for when you're an author.
Right, absolutely. So tell our listeners, what can they expect when they pick up When You See Me? Tell us about your new novel.
So When You See Me starts with the discovery of skeletal remains in a remote mountain town. They are identified as belonging to a victim police have long suspected died at the hands of a serial predator. So a task force is assembled to go into the woods and see if they can learn the truth. They quickly start discovering more remains and that nothing in this small mountain town is what it seems.
Okay, so I know this is a part of your previous series with Detective D.D. Warren. What inspired you to write this particular story and throw this one into the mix?
So one of the concepts being dealt with in When You See Me is what we call the asterisk list for serial killers. So I grew up in Oregon, which was one of the prime hunting grounds for Ted Bundy. To this day, there are the 30 women Ted Bundy confessed to killing, but there's a whole bunch of other women police believe he killed. And there are all these families in Oregon whose, beautiful dark-haired daughters went missing 30 years ago. Bodies have never been found. They have no closure, and they're stuck kind of guessing they died at the hands of a serial killer,
right,
but no one really knows. And I've just always found that so compelling. What's it like to live in that kind of limbo? And that gave me the idea of When You See Me, when we kind of deal with Jacob Ness's asterisk list. I mean, have D.D. Warren and Kimberly Quincy and Flora Dane finally started to discover the truth about this longtime predator? Or is this something else entirely?
So who would you consider to be your favorite character in the novel?
Ooh, I have to admit, as much as I love my former characters, I keep repeating them. When You See Me introduces a new character that we know simply as Girl. She suffered a gunshot wound when she was a child. She cannot speak. She cannot read. She cannot write. It's called aphasia, and it comes from brain damage to a part of the brain. But this is a child who desperately needs to be rescued. And who she is and what she's trying to do, and how do you reach out when you're in a world where you cannot talk, you cannot read, you cannot write.
Tell our listeners, Lisa, is there a particular scene in the novel you enjoyed writing the most, or is there a scene that resonated with you personally somehow?
So When You See Me brings back a fan favorite, Flora Dane, who's kind of a victim of Jacob Ness. Now she's a vigilante. We followed her for a few books. I think readers are really rooting for her to overcome her trauma, to find her way from surviving to thriving. And there's a particular turning point for her in When You See Me that is just, as a writer, as a fan of my own character. Just, it's one of my all-time favorite scenes I've ever written, and I think when readers get to it, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about, and they'll feel just as happy.
Right, absolutely. So, getting a little bit into your process, how long did it take for you to pull When You See Me together, start to finish?
So I'm a book a year thriller writer. I researched for quite a bit of time for When You See Me. I had to go back to the body farm and learn about mass graves and other and skeletal remains and search techniques for bones. So that takes me several months. Then I draft a book in 6 months, but it's never very good, I have to say. And then it's 3 months of taking that kind of draft and turning it into a nice, tight, concise thriller that I hope everyone will enjoy in January.
Right, absolutely. So if you didn't write, what would you do for work or as a creative pursuit?
I've often thought about teaching, but I think my real passion, and it keeps bringing me back to suspense novels, is I love criminology. I don't think I'd make a good detective because I don't have that kind of eye for detail, but human behavior. Why do people do what they do? What makes a criminal? I find those concepts fascinating, and that would be a great job to have, I think.
Okay, all right. Sounds definitely right up your alley for sure. So getting into your reading life, what was the last book that you finished reading that you would now recommend?
Oh, I just finished reading J.T. Ellison's Good Girls Lie. She's one of my favorite authors. Good Girls Lie just came out. I think it was December 30th.
Yes.
So it's available now, and readers, anyone who loves a good thriller should definitely check it out.
Absolutely. But when you're not reading or writing, what are you doing?
I love to play cards. I'm a cribbage addict. I love pinochle, pitch. I have quite a few neighbors now, and I was just with my family, and I mean, we'll play cards until midnight every night, including my 100-year-old grandma.
Oh,
so
wow.
We're just obsessed with cards.
Bless her. It sounds that way, but that's pretty cool. So part of the podcast is all about indie bookstores and indie booksellers, and we just always love, anytime we can squeeze in an opportunity to shout them out. So share with our listeners some of your favorite indie bookstores.
Oh, absolutely. As still an avid reader, bookstores are my favorite place to be. I am very lucky in the mountains of New Hampshire. I have a fabulous local independent, White Birch, that if you're ever in the mountains of New Hampshire, you should be visiting. Out in Arizona, for readers more in that direction, the Poison Pen in Scottsdale, Arizona, has the best mystery collection. Mm-hmm. I go there each year, and I generally end up having to ship home the books I buy while I'm there, signing books. and then for West Coast listeners, there's Powell's Books in Portland, Oregon. There's a Mysterious Galaxy in San Diego. Those great stores and those personal bookseller recommendations, I think, just are reader's paradise.
Absolutely. So getting back to When You See Me, how do you want readers to feel after reading this book? What are the reactions you're hoping for?
What I love best in suspense novels is books where you get some kind of catharsis at the end, answers to even some real world question, and you get to spend time with characters you love. So I feel like this book is a real definitive moment in the stories of Dee Dee, of Flora Dane, and Kimberly Quincy. And I think readers will leave the book satisfied. Like, I've been with these characters a long time, and this was a really great installment to their story.
Alrighty. Lisa, thank you so much for coming on the show, everyone. When You See Me will be available in bookstores on Tuesday, January 28th.
Well, thank you so much. This has been so much fun, and I really appreciate it. And yay, bookstores.
Yes, yay, bookstores. Readers, you can connect with author Lisa Gardner at her website, lisagardner.com, and on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Lisa Gardner BKS. You can also tune in to the rest of my chat with Lisa Gardner in our off-the-cuff discussion over on our Patreon page. She shares more about her work schedule, how publishing her first books have changed her writing process, her favorite childhood books, and other projects she's currently working on. So head on over to patreon.com/bibliofinder and tune in to the rest of our conversation. New this week from Ballantine Books, The Other People by C.J. Tudor. The Other People has been described as a gripping new thriller about a man's quest for the daughter no one else believes is still alive. New this week from Hogarth Books, The Circus by Jonas Carlson. Step right in the world of Jonas Carlson's Kafkaesque new novel, in which a real-life vanishing act leaves one man looking for his missing friend. New this week from Simon & Schuster, Run Me to Earth by Paul Yoon. Run Me to Earth is a novel about 3 kids orphaned in 1960s Laos and how their destinies are entwined across decades. Also new from Simon & Schuster, Becoming a Man, the story of a transition by P. Carl. Becoming a Man explores one man's gender transition amid a pivotal political movement in America. Also new from Simon & Schuster, The Bomb, Presidents, Generals, and the Secret History of Nuclear War by Fred Kaplan. Readers, if you need a more tailored selection of books to keep on your radar, or you want to hear more from your favorite authors that we've had on the show, become a patron at patreon.com/bibliofinder. For $1 per month, you'll get our monthly top shelf recommendations of new releases that we're super excited about. You'll also hear more from your favorite authors in our off-the-cuff discussions. You'll get our full Meet the Bookseller podcast episodes, get bookish-themed Instagram templates, plus lots more. That's patreon.com/bibliofinder. I've included a link in the show notes so you can sign up there. New this week from Atria Books, Cartier's Hope by M.J. Rose. Cartier's Hope has been described as a lush, romantic, historical mystery that also highlights ambition and betrayal set in the Gilded Age. New in paperback from Scribner Books, Vacuum in the Dark by Jen Began. New this week from Gallery Books Scout Press, When We Were Vikings by Andrew David MacDonald. When We Were Vikings is described as an uplifting debut about an unlikely heroine whose journey will leave you wanting to embark on a quest of your own. New this week from Gallery Books, Marriage on Madison Avenue by Lauren Lane. This is the final installment of the Central Park Pact series. New this week from Little Brown and Company, A Game of Birds and Wolves, the ingenious young women whose secret board game helped win World War II by Simon Parkin. New this week from Mulholland Books, High Five by Joe Ide. This is book 4 in an IQ novel series. New this week from Seal Press, Believe Me, How Trusting Women Can Change the World, edited by Jessica Valenti and Jacqueline Friedman. With contributions from many of the most important voices in feminism today, Believe Me is an essential roadmap for the Me Too era and beyond. New this week from Tor.com, Prosperous Demon by K.J. Parker. K.J. Parker returns with a charming, pitch-dark, and cerebral tale of bad men, good intentions, and demonic exorcisms. New this week from Tor Books, The Bard's Blade by Brian D. Anderson. The Bard's Blade is the start of a new fantasy adventurer and book 1 in the Sorcerer's Song series. New this week from St. Martin's Press, The Lookalike by Erica Spindler. The Lookalike is a suspenseful new novel about a 10-year-old unsolved murder and the woman who remains haunted by it. New this week from Bloomsbury Publishing, Show Them a Good Time by Nicole Flattery. Show Them a Good Time is an original and wickedly funny collection of stories about the strange worlds that women inhabit and the parts that they must play. Readers, I hope you enjoyed today's show. A list of all the books mentioned in the show will be available over at bibliohappyhour.com. To shop all the books I've mentioned in the show and to find a bookstore near you or when you're traveling, visit bibliofinder.com. If you're on Twitter or Facebook, please let us know at Biblio Happy Hour and tag us in your post over on Instagram, also at Biblio Happy Hour. If you enjoy listening to our podcast, please share Biblio Happy Hour with your favorite bookish friends, share us on social media, and please leave us a rating and review. Don't forget, Biblio Lifestyle newsletter subscribers are the first to know all the podcast happenings, get free goodies in the mail, and they can enter for a chance to win some free books. So if you're not on the list, sign up now for our free weekly delivery at bibliolifestyle.com. I've included a link in the show notes so you can sign up there. Alrighty readers, that's it for today's show. Thank you so much for listening and happy reading.